Directions. Determine each type of question: prediction, inference, detail, big picture, or connection. Shade the question the correct color. Answer each question using complete sentences. This is Shortish Story number 3. The photos online of the house at 707 Meridian Avenue were beautiful. 2 stories, a tree-lined street, and a front door painted red. It looked like a dollhouse, sweet and pretty. I didn't love the idea of buying a house sight unseen, but I'd gotten a promotion at work that would require us to move across the country within the next month. We didn't have much choice. We'd been looking online at houses in Pasadena for hours and hours, and this was the first one we saw that we liked. I was sure it was out of our budget, but Jeff convinced me to click on the listing. All right, pause for a minute. You have some questions to answer. Question number 1. Whenever an author gives a specific name to something, whether it's a person or a place, the name often has significance. Google the address mentioned in the paragraph above. Why is the address significant? Question 2. What do you think the address foreshadows? What have we got to lose, he said. I mean, it doesn't cost anything to look. It's nice to dream a little bit, right? I smiled at him and opened the listing. Both of us were shocked by the price. It was thousands of dollars under budget. We couldn't believe our luck. Let's call the realtor, I said. Let's put in an offer now before anybody else. If we don't move fast, somebody else is going to snatch it up. Jeff hesitated. I don't know, he said. You know what they say. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. There might be something wrong with it. There could be bad pipes or a messed up foundation. Maybe we should fly out there and look at it. Look at the pictures, I cried. It looks absolutely perfect, even the basement. I don't want to keep looking. I love this house, please. Jeff smiled. Oh, what the heck? Let's go for it, he said. Besides, if it doesn't pass the inspection, we can get out of the deal anyway, right? Okay, you'll pause and answer some questions. Question number 3. Do you think the narrator and her husband are making a good decision to buy the house without seeing it in person? Why or why not? When we called the realtor in Pasadena to put an offer on the house, she sounded shocked. You want to buy the house at 707 Meridian Avenue, she asked. Yes, I said. Why do you sound so surprised? It's gorgeous, and the price is amazing. My husband and I are moving to Pasadena from out of Boston, and we'd love to know we have a home waiting for us when we get there. Of course, the realtor said excitedly. An out-of-state buyer, that makes sense. I can assure you there are absolutely no structural problems. Everything has been beautifully maintained and is in perfect working order, and I can assure you that everything is immaculate. Pause to answer your next question. Don't forget to shade your colors. What is the realtor's reaction when the narrator calls to say she'd like to buy the house? The buying process moved at lightning speed. The realtor couldn't wait to sell us the house. No sense in you having to stay in a motel when we can have you in your very own home from day one, she said. The inspection went perfectly. Everything was in perfect working order, just like the realtor said. We couldn't wait to move into our perfect new home. Okay, question number 5. When you see this text feature, like a bunch of little asterisks between sections in a story, what is that text feature telling you? Like, what's happening in the story when you see that? When we pulled into the driveway for the first time, we couldn't believe it. The house was even lovelier in person than it had been in the photos online. Wow, Jeff said. The realtor was waiting on the front porch for us, paperwork in hand. Welcome home, she said. If you'll just sign these last few papers, I can give you the keys and get out of your hair. I thought you'd want to show us around, I said. Maybe come in and have some coffee with us. The realtor laughed nervously. No, she said. Don't bother yourselves. I'll just head out and let you get settled. She practically ran to her car. Jeff and I looked at each other. That was kind of weird, Jeff said. She was in a big hurry. She probably has another appointment or something, I said. Let's go inside. Okay, why do you think the realtor is in such a hurry to leave? Wow, Jeff said again. This is literally the cleanest house I have ever moved into. The house smelled like bleach and pine cleanser. One less thing to do, I thought. After driving for 2 days and 2 nights, we were exhausted. It wasn't long before we were dead asleep. We didn't wake up until we heard the moving van pull up the next morning. We went outside to meet the movers. We saw some of our new neighbors out walking dogs or mowing their lawns. They waved and smiled, we waved and smiled, but nobody smiled or waved back at us. Not the friendliest neighborhood, Jeff said. It takes time to warm up to new people, I said. Give it a little time. Even though nobody would wave back at us, they seemed to like to stand outside and stare. Every time we went out for another box, the neighbors were huddled together on their lawns, whispering to one another and pointing at our house. When they saw us looking, they'd turn away. After a few hours, I'd had enough. I walked briskly across the street and introduced myself. I feel like I might as well just come out and say something, I said. We've seen you staring at us all morning. Why don't you just come over and say hello or welcome to the neighborhood? Staring is just rude. They looked at one another with raised eyebrows. Finally, one woman spoke. You can't blame us for staring, she said. Oh, really? I said. Why exactly is that? I mean, who wouldn't stare at the people who moved into that house? She replied. So what do you think the neighbor means when she calls it that house? What do you mean by that house? I asked. Our house? Our beautiful house? Our perfect house? The neighbors stared at me in silence. You're not from around here, are you? A man said slowly. No, I said impatiently. I guess you didn't read up on the local news before you came, huh? He said. The man pulled out his cell phone, Googled the address of our house, and held it out to me. What I saw made me feel queasy. After reading a few of the newspaper headlines, I understood why the house was so cheap, and I understood why the neighbors were staring. I thought back to what Jeff had said when we'd first looked at the photos online. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Last question, what can you infer about the narrator's new house? I might also ask you, what can you infer has happened at that house before they moved there?